Hi, this is Not the Girl Next Door show, and I have Maximus with me today. How are you guys?
Who are those guys? Those guys suck.
Three Students Plumbing.
Could you guys introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the band?
I'm Blackie. I'm the vocalist, guitarist. Next.
Brandon, bass.
Hi, I'm Tony, drums.
The band's been together for roughly, I want to say about 6 years, 5-6 years. It's kind of it started out as a side project to keep myself going because I was in another band called Isaac James, and that band took a hiatus. And I had a bunch of music, and I didn't want to quit performing, so I just kind of carried over, and I put this thing together to kind of be a side project that became my main focus. And all of a sudden, the 80-20 split kind of went 80% focus on Maximus and 20% on Isaac James. And it's pretty much just kind of been that way. Brandon's been with me since pretty much the beginning.
Day one.
Well, it's funny actually. I had a gig scheduled up in an area where he lives, and I'd never met Brandon yet, but I'd heard of him through a former guitar player that was with us, and he's like, "Yeah, I know this guy." We had this gig come up, and it was a half covers, half original gig on the river, and the bass player that we had turned out to be pretty unreliable, and he bailed on us. And so Richie's like, "I've got a friend who plays bass who could probably fill in." So I literally taught 4 hours worth of music to Brandon in about 15 minutes in the back of his car.
Oh,
right
my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
It was 15 minutes before we took the stage. So it was like, okay, so this song is this, and you play this riff and this chord, and then this song is this, you play this riff. You got all that? And he goes, no, but okay.
Oh.
It turned out all right.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years later, he's still with me.
I guess you did a pretty good job.
Yeah. I guess. Like a disease that just couldn't get rid of me.
It's like a rash, man. Tony was the final piece in the group. I've known Tony for a really long time. We played in other bands in the St. Louis area. We used to do a lot of shows together in different bands, whatever. And when this one drummer that was with us for about close to 4 years, and he decided he just didn't want to get out traveling anymore. I think he got a girlfriend, and his girlfriend kind of changed some things in his head. Personally, I think that's what happened. Typical band story. And
yeah.
So I had a bunch of gigs scheduled when our drummer left, and then Tony's like, "I want the opportunity to do it," and he jumped in. And the way I look at it is, everything up to this point has been just auditions. 5 years worth of auditions.
So for those listeners who have never heard you before, how would you describe your sound, or how would you describe the band's music to people who have never heard your music before?
Like metal grinding and vegetable oil.
Yeah.
No, it's
so appealing.
So appealing. No, it's modern rock. I mean, it's got a touch of some classic stuff. You hear some classic influence, some blues, some southern rock, some progressive rock from the 70s and 80s. But for the most part, it's like a conglomeration of a lot of things. We get a lot of compliments from people from anywhere from 15 to 50. So. I guess the closest that I would probably describe it would be something like Shinedown, Godsmack, Seether, somewhere in that vein with a little touch of Bob Seger. Quite the love child.
I think you hit the nail on the head, because everybody that you've said I can hear in the music itself. So is that geared towards who are your musical influences as a whole, as a band?
Well, mine is a lot of whiskey.
That's a hell of an influence.
I don't know, Tony. You what's some of your influences?
My main guy is John Baugh, Led Zeppelin. I mean, he's my go-to guy right there. I mean, besides that, like Morgan Rose from Seven Dust, was Ray from that curly drum for Korn. I mean, just some of their drum styles. I mean, it's like they're like a power drummer like Vinnie Paul, but they have these accents to them. It just brings a lot more to the table.
Brandon, what would you call some of your? I'm doing this for a reason, by the way, and I'll recap here in a second. But Brandon, what's some of your influences?
I'm like grunge, alternative, even dare I say a pop rock sometimes. Even I like the '90s shit a lot. Not that I don't listen to the classics for sure, but that's where I'm at.
So, where a lot of my stuff comes from, I grew up a lot listening to. I used to play drums when I was growing up, and I'd listen to a lot of stuff like Skinner and Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker. Even had some Neil Diamond influence in there. My parents used to listen to Neil Diamond all the time. We used to have it on 8-track. And so I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff from the 60s, 70s. And when I really got into playing guitar, I started getting into the 90s stuff like Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, and Stone Temple Pilots. I'm a big Dean DeLeo fan. Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King. I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff. So the reason that I wanted everybody to talk about that was because what it showcases is the three of us have such diverse backgrounds that are completely almost unrelated to each other, but somehow we end up making it work.
I have to agree. And by the way, Blackie, I just happened to see today one of your covers of Stone Temple Pilots, and it was pretty good. I have to admit.
Thank you.
I'm not a big fan of covers. I am not the norm and love listening to cover songs, but that was a great cover that I watched today. So.
I've always had a philosophy when it comes to covers. You can only do it one of two ways, and if you don't do it one of these two ways, then you don't need to be doing it at all. It either needs to sound so much like the original artist that it just, it's just like, wow, that's pretty damn cool. Or it needs to be so far left, removed, rewritten that it cannot be mistaken for the original artist. Like we do a remake of a Britney Spears song that sounds like Alice in Chains doing Britney Spears.
Oh my goodness, and, I gotta see that one.
So that's my philosophy. Is it has to be, you have to get as close to the original artist as possible, or it just sounds like somebody doing karaoke on the bar. It's that's the way I do it anyway. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much. And we even have that Off the Wall where we actually mixed in Hendrix and Pearl Jam. So
right. Yeah, we do a medley of a Pearl Jam song and Jimi Hendrix, and we mesh them together, and somehow it seems to go together.
Is all this on YouTube? Because I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
There are quite a few, yeah. We do. If you look up Maximus, "Hit Me Baby One More Time," there's. We actually did a Great Day Des Moines, and went way back in the day. There's an acoustic version on there, and then there's a couple of full band versions of it online. You just have to kind of look for it.
I will do that. Well, you just brought up
unique.
You brought up something that kind of made me think, because you said you either have to do it exactly like the band did it, or you got to do it completely opposite. And then I said that I had saw your Stone Temple Pilots cover. So I got to see Stone Temple Pilots this year, and it's the first time I've actually seen. I never saw Stone Temple Pilots back in the day, which I wish I did. But anyway, with Jeff Gutt as the new lead singer, when I saw him perform live with Stone Temple Pilots, I was in awe. I was like, holy cow, it's Scott Weiland reincarnated. Right. I mean, he's got the moves. I mean, he had everything. I mean, it gave me the chills. But then you have the complete opposite. Some of the fans that were there were like, oh, this is like karaoke. He's like acting like Scott Weiland. What do you think? I mean, what is your opinion? Not to, if you don't like it, to badmouth him or anything like that. I mean, like, what is your opinion? Because he definitely is a reincarnate version performing as Scott Weiland.
Well, I mean, bands like Stone Temple Pilots have a certain niche. And I think you could throw some great singers in that position, and it just wouldn't do the band any justice, in my opinion. I mean, you could put Paul Rogers from Bad Company in that spot, and he's going to do a great job, but it's not going to be Stone Temple Pilots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people who are fans, and this band's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
People who have been longtime fans of this band, they want to see Stone Temple Pilots. So I think that what Jeff is doing personally, I think he does an amazing job. The first time I heard the original song that they wrote with him, I showed it to Tony and Brandon when we were at practice, and all of us were like, "Dude, I got chills, man. That's Weiland all over again." It sounds like anything from Tiny Music from the Vatican Gift Shop. You know, it sounds like everything off that album. And the guy did phenomenal, in my opinion. I think that he's doing exactly what needs to be done. I think, just to give you a great example, I'm a big fan of Fuel. I know a couple of members in the band. I know Brett, and I think the band is phenomenal, and I love all their older stuff. When Brett left the band and the new singer came in, I can't think of his name, but apparently he came from a Fuel cover band, but he didn't quite do it like Fuel. I mean, it wasn't Fuel to me. It was Fuel with the new singer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he ended up not sticking around in the band, and I think that had a lot to do with it. I think it was because it was Fuel with the new singer and not Fuel, if that makes any sense.
Sounds like Alice in Chains.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because for me, oh my gosh, I've been a Alice in Chains fan since the beginning, and for me, Alice in Chains doesn't do it for me. I mean, I'm not saying their lead singer is not a great lead singer. I completely agree with that. However, I'm not a fan of Alice in Chains now.
Right.
Yeah, it's not Lane. It's like him.
And he William Duvall is a great singer. He's a phenomenal singer, but it's not Alice in Chains. It's Alice in Chains with a new singer.
Agreed. I completely agree.
And there is a difference. Not saying that he can't carry on the torch, and it's going to be a little while before that stuff. I mean, it's been a while, but, there's going to have to be a few albums that settle in before a new generation is going to have to accept that, because they kind of started with him. But all of us older guys, all of us older people who were there from the beginning with Lane, I mean, that's Alice in Chains to us. You know what I mean?
Yep, I completely agree.
Thank God for them loyal fans.
Right.
Well, and it's always interesting too, because like I said, the crowd was completely split. I saw them in Peoria, Illinois, and it was a pretty big crowd, but everybody I spoke with thereafter, it was kind of split down the middle, and I was surprised because I didn't never think anybody would think that it was like a karaoke performance, but I can see their point of view now. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But as you said, it's not, to me, I like the first song that they released, but I'm not. It doesn't make me a fan like I was with Stone Temple Pilots with Scott Weiland.
Sure.
It's the same exact thing. So let's talk about your music. let's talk about the last song that I added to the playlist, which was "Gave You Away." And let's talk about what the song's maybe about, and maybe talk a little bit about the video, because to me they both coincide. Like, the song definitely is explained through the video itself.
What do you think it's about?
Well, I know the video. I mean, the video was that girl. She was like, "Oh, we're never here," and the guy was like, "Oh, that's what you get for, going in a band." And he gave her away because she wanted to be let go, but maybe did she really want to be let go? So, in a nutshell, maybe?
So the song is I write everything on personal experience. Everything that I write, every lyric that you ever read that comes out of me is something that happened to me or something I witnessed personally. So, yes, I do use metaphors, but for the most part, if you're just an average Joe, you can pretty much identify with everything that I write, because it's happened to every single one of us.
Right.
That being said, "Gave You Away" was about a former relationship. That you ever get involved with someone that you just absolutely head over heels about, but it's toxic. You're enthralled to be with this person, but pretty much 90% of the day that you spend with them is arguing and griping. So It's like, and everything that you try, and the longer you're with them, everything you try to do, the worse that it gets. So you don't hate the person, but you know that you can't be with them. So rather than putting yourselves both through misery, you know that the right thing to do is just to get away from each other and hope that they carry on and have a better life than they are with you. It's kind of that whole, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it's not, you never see it again.
Right.
Kind of one of those things. So the situation of that song basically is you care for somebody, but you know you can't be together. So, you know, I gave you away so that you could be happy again, because you're obviously not happy with me. I want you to go out and be happy. If it's not going to be with me, I don't want to see you miserable for the rest of your life.
Understandable. Now, just a question, because you kind of just mentioned it, that you know, you write the songs. How does the creative process work for the band? I mean, we kind of discussed it a little bit in the beginning, that you guys are not all together in one location. So how does the process work for making music and creating songs?
Brandon could probably answer this. He's been with me long enough.
Well, we do exchange ideas over video and so forth like that, you know, for riffs, and we do our homework at home. That helps a lot. And then, you know, a lot of times when we get together, riffs just kind of appear, and then song formations start to go on, and we start to add our own little styles into it and do a little tweaking. And I mean, it's nothing for us to write a song when we get together, you know, relatively quick out of thin air. It's just good chemistry sometimes.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. I knew you could answer that. So I have a really weird process, and this actually goes along with exactly what Brandon was just saying. Sometimes I write music. Sometimes I write lyrics without the music. I'll write music without lyrics. And I've got notebooks full of stuff that go back years. And every time I write a piece of music or a piece of lyric, it invokes certain feeling, like certain emotion, like whether it be happiness or sadness, angry, regret, whatever the case may be. And I'll remember every single one of these. And if I start playing, if I'm together with the guys and we start writing a music riff, and that riff invokes a certain emotion, all of a sudden I'll remember that lyric that made me feel the same way. So I'll go back through my notebooks, and 9 times out of 10, that lyric will fit with music somehow. It's like it's just something about the way that the two are constructed. They just merge together effortlessly. It's a weird thing.
So how does it translate when you go on stage? If you have a song or, you know, a lyric that was so emotional or so sad or so angry, when you go up on stage, you have to relive that moment again, or do you take yourself out of that?
Yes and no. There are certain songs, especially if you catch me on certain nights, there are certain songs where I will relive it, and sometimes it can get pretty emotional. There's a couple of songs that I'll tell stories. I love telling stories about a couple of certain songs that were really, really deep meaning. They were very, very deep meaning to me. And sometimes that actually translates to the audience, and I've had people walk up to me just bawling, going, "Holy cow, dude, that was pretty deep." Yeah, don't feel so bad. I'm on stage crying too. But yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, with any performance, with any performer, if you play something repeatedly over and over again for years, it kind of becomes numb. But I try and put myself into that state of mind with every single song so that I can convey what it was that I was writing about. Because, you know, there's always going to be somebody new in the audience. There's always going to be somebody that's never seen you before. So you want to make sure that you give that all to them just like you gave it to someone 3 years prior.
Right.
It's like flipping the switch, basically. You know, like you're yourself outside, but once you hit the stage, you got to flip that switch, and it's you, but it's not really you anymore because now you're there to put a show on.
Right. So let's talk about a live show. Tell everybody who's never been to a Maximus show what they can experience when coming to see you guys live.
I'm burning the damn building down. I've broken stuff on stages. I've broken stages. I actually almost set a venue on fire.
We fell through them, fell off them.
Oh, come on, we got to hear stories then, because that was one of my questions. I want some crazy stories. So we got to hear stories.
I almost flew 20 feet up in the air. I slid off of a box outside, up Burlington, Iowa. I jumped up on a box, and it slid out from underneath me. And I went straight up in the air and somehow caught myself and the guitar that I was holding without crashing.
Do not put your ego boxes on metal feet when it's on concrete.
On pavement, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
because they
bad
slide
idea.
around.
A little bit.
I jumped up on one, and it shot out into the crowd. I did 15, 20 feet. I went up in the air almost the same distance.
Oh, my God.
But it looked cool, man.
I'm sure it did.
Really cool. The first night I met my wife, she was managing this place, and we had a band go on before us, and it was they had no problems. And when we got up on stage, this was in Isaac Games, but just to kind of give you an idea of the stuff that we do that I brought to this band, we literally set the PA system on fire. There was flames rolling out of the speakers, touching the ceiling. Yeah. In the third song in the set, so we ended up finished off the set acoustically, so it's kind of funny.
Oh my gosh!
But this band, it's just as ridiculous. I mean, we've broken stuff, almost broken bones on stage. Hell, Brandon was on stage in a back brace. He screwed up his back, and he played the entire show in a back brace. I mean,
that's commitment.
I put him in crutches from a stool. I literally was loading the trailer one day and had to make an ER trip because of my back, and then came back, finished loading the trailer, and drove to Kansas City for a show that night.
Oh my gosh, that is some commitment there.
Got to be done.
One of my performing philosophies has always been if you're just not exhausted and dripping with sweat and every muscle aching by the time you walk off that stage, you didn't do a good enough job. So if that gives you an idea of what we do on stage.
Yeah, like I try to break my drums, literally, on stage.
So you try to break your drums?
Oh, yeah, I hit them so hard I'm trying to break them.
Sometimes it works.
I've smashed up a guitar on stage before.
You guys are talking
with
Motley Crue stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it right.
Do it right. Very high energy, emotional. You're going to be dazzled with your ears as well as your eyes when you come to a Maximus show most of the time.
Yeah, and all three of us feed off each other. I mean, we really do.
So that's awesome. You guys need to come back to Illinois sometime soon so I can see all that. That's actually one of my questions. What are your plans for 2019, for the rest of 2018? What does Maximus have coming up or in the works?
World domination. Emptying every fridge that we can and crashing on every couch that we can.
Same thing every year, Pinky.
Same thing every year, Pinky. We decided. So this band's been going nonstop. I mean, in all reality, Brandon, I'm sure will agree with me. This band has been going nonstop across the country, back and forth for almost 6 years, and we finally decided this is the year. We're going to take a definitive break for a few months. We're just going to pull ourselves out of the mix completely. So we had our last couple of shows about a month and a half ago, and I guess about a month ago. And so what we're doing for the next several months is just getting some rest, cleaning up our equipment. We're going to be recording a couple times in there occasionally. We're going to be hitting the studio here real soon to get some stuff done. And our first show back out is February 23rd in St. Louis at a place called Just Bill's. It's our manager's birthday show, and we've got a ton of just great artists on the lineup. We've got a bunch of stuff that's going to be happening. Tony and I I was in a band called Field of Grey. Tony was in a band called Habit of Force. We're actually going to be bringing some of the old members back and playing some of the old songs from those bands for the St. Louis crowd, because that's where those bands are based. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yep.
Should be a fun night.
So I'm going to be playing guitar for basically the Habit of Force lineup. I'm going to be playing guitar for those guys for a song, and then we're going to break out American Beauty by Field of Grey, which is something I haven't even thought about this song in over a decade. So it'll be kind of cool.
And then in the end, you're going to burn the house down?
Probably.
That's while it's burning down.
That's while it's burning down.
That'd be a hell of a video. Record that. Well, where can people find your music? Where can they find you guys? Do you have a website? Or we know you're on YouTube. We discussed that. Where can they find all of your stuff?
You can pretty much, if you look up Maximus Rock Band, all one word, it pops up on a bunch of different social media sites that way. Reverb Nation, Facebook, YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. I mean, pretty much all the big social media stuff.
Well, when you guys
working on a new website right now, so we're going to have a new website out too before we come back out. So.
Well, when you guys have new music out, you'll definitely have to send it to me so I can get it on the show and get it on Rock Ridge Radio. I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Come back anytime. Message me anytime you need, me to share a show or anything that you guys have coming up. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.